Hey, what's up, everybody? Mr. Nunley back again with more knowledge to drop down on you. Rocking a hat for once to try and tame this wild quarantine hair. Today, we are going to be talking about the differences between the North and the South during the mid 1800s and the Missouri Compromise. And I'm going to do so using what is keeping us all sane during this crazy time: memes. While we were all part of the same country, the United States was massive even back then, and the North and the South were like totally different worlds with totally different ways of life. So let's start with the North. The North is full of factories, and they changed a lot about life in the North. Because of new inventions, factories and machines could do things that people used to have to train to do, like turning raw materials like cotton into fabric and other skilled labor. The machines were taking over. Factories would make things much faster and easier than a person could, but they required a lot of workers, sometimes thousands of people. So people from all around the world immigrated to the north for work, and large cities began to form around those factories to support the massive population. Because there were so many people for all the jobs, people in the north didn't really need slave labor. Instead, they focused on free labor. And free labor doesn't mean that they work for free. It just meant that they were free to choose the job that they wanted. Maybe not that one. The South, however, was different in many ways. Most of the South was made up of small farms and large plantations that relied on slave labor. Not all Southerners owned slaves, and many white Southerners worked on their own farms. However, almost all the large plantations were ran by slaves, sometimes hundreds of slaves on just one plantation. This is where a lot of the problem between the North and the South came from. Most people in the North were against slavery, but the South wasn't going to let it go without a fight.
Hold up. You messing with my truck? You messing with my truck?
You see, the South relied on slavery. Their entire economy and way of life depended on these farms and plantations, especially cotton. By 1860, the South made 75% of the entire world's cotton. If they were to lose their slaves, those rich plantation owners would lose everything. Most people in the South would lose something, and it would destroy the economy of the entire South. So problems began. The South was worried because the North had a larger population. They didn't want them to have control in Congress, because then the North could pass laws that would change the Southerners' way of life. And Manifest Destiny made this argument much worse.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Most Northerners didn't want to see slavery spread to the new states. However, Southerners thought that they should have the right to own slaves in these new lands they settled in. And that brings us to Missouri. In 1819, Missouri asked to join the Union as a slave state. However, there were already 11 free states and 11 slave states. If there was another slave state, the slave states would have more power in Congress because there's more states. So Northerners were furious. Debates were heated, and things were not looking good in the United States.
God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm Ted Cruz.
Okay.
Today, there are many reasons to be concerned about our nation's direction.
But in came Henry Clay from Kentucky. He proposed that Missouri join as a slave state, and Maine, which at the time was part of Massachusetts, would join as a new free state. That way, the Southern farmers could expand, and the Northerners and free states wouldn't have a disadvantage in Congress. Everything seemed to be solved. But Clay, what about new states after this?
No off-topic questions, because I don't want to. No, permission denied. That's an off-topic questions. Next, you have been stopped.
Just kidding, they actually handled that too. He said that any new states under the latitude 36 degrees and 30 north, aka pretty much cutting the country in half, would become a slave state. So anything on the southern half would be a slave state, anything added in the northern half would be a free state. This didn't solve the problem completely, but it did calm anger of some for about 30 or so years. So to wrap it up, the North was full of large cities and factories that used free labor, while the South was full of small farms and plantations based on slave labor. Both of them were afraid of the other one getting too powerful, and the Missouri Compromise was a way they hoped to deal with this. So, I hope this video helped you all out, and as always, I miss you all. I hope you're doing well. Keep 212 Laker Gang. Nunley out.